Alright, hey guys, so what's up? Yeah, so this video is actually the start of a new series that I'm gonna be doing called gangster math, like like gang, I'm not gonna flash, but it's gonna be called gang math. Okay. The reason I'm calling it this is because these set of videos are not meant to be like your main teaching of whatever. Okay, you're supposed to know that stuff already and have this be supplemented to that, or you're just supposed to watch it for fun. Okay, what this means is that I'm not gonna be like that type of teacher where like everything is precise and neat and you're gonna know everything you want to know. Not gonna be that type of teacher. I'm gonna be the type of teacher who is rough and you're not gonna get everything in sequential steps. You're not gonna get everything A, B, C, D, E, F, right? I might make even mistakes, and you're supposed to catch me on that because that's your responsibility as an adult. Just by watching this video, you're saying that, at least to me, you're saying that you're a grown-up person and that you're able to make your own decisions as to what is right and what is wrong. So if you can't make that type of decision right now, then I'm just saying just get off this video, don't watch it. Right? If you can't decide for yourself, oh, this is wrong, what he said here is wrong, because even with the teacher, they make a mistake. Obviously, the teacher year one course, they won't make a mistake, but if you're higher up, you know what I'm saying, you got to be able to see the mistakes so that when you do go on the test, you can lie about that it's true because the guy showed it his fucking notes. Or you gotta decide which one you're gonna go for, whether you're gonna go for that and then later come back and ask for the marker. Again, it happens, right? You have to play around. Use your mind, use your head. This is street smart mathematics. So, what I'm gonna be teaching today, alright, what am I gonna be teaching? The first video, I wanna talk about what is math, okay? So when we talk about math, I want to talk about several other things. I want to talk about things like music. What is music? Things like cooking. What is cooking? Badminton. What is badminton? All right. Basketball. What is basketball? Right. These things that we don't usually think about, I want y'all to think about it because I want you to think. I don't really care if you come out of this and you're not any better at math. I'm just trying to help you think so that when you do study, you study with thinking. When you do math, you do math with thinking. Whether it's mathematics or physics or chemistry, you'll need mathematics for all of them. And you're going to think. I don't really care like what else you do. I don't really care if you go learn this and you go learn music. I don't care if you do this as a side hobby that you just learn this and you think it's funny. This guy flashing gang signs in the middle of his fucking videos. I'm not flashing gang signs. I don't. This doesn't be caught by the police. That's why I didn't do it. See, this is not a gang sign. Anyways, I'm really him. Okay. It doesn't really matter to me. Like, so let's start right away. Math is just a type of thinking. Right? When we talk about basketball, what is basketball? Basketball, you have to know the rules. Right? Once you know the rules, you know that basketball is basically a game. You have to know what a game is, the definition of a game. And you play, you have a bunch of rules. And you have a ball, and you have your team. And you're able to do certain things. And what you see is what happens when those rules are applied and you have a certain type of team do stuff. Same with cooking. You have your ingredients, right? It doesn't make sense if I say cook aluminum or cook concrete because those are not edible. But then you go to chemistry and those are applicable because those are elements. Chemistry is cooking elements. Right? I'm going to put this on the Bunsen burners, mercury, and I'm gonna put this. It's gonna be lithium and water, or I'm gonna put, carbon with some hydrogen. It's gonna give me CH or whatever carbon, and I'm gonna put carbon with oxygen, try to give me CO2 gas. I'm gonna try to burn stuff. I'm gonna put something in a piranha solution and it's gonna burn off. I'm not expecting you to know everything I say, because the whole point of this is I'm supposed to get you to think. It's not about knowing everything. It's about, oh, can I take this that he's saying? Yeah, I get the general idea. Because when I first started math, yeah, I was like that. I was like, every single part that I didn't know, I was like, shit, I need to look that up. So like in the class, I was asking all these questions, be like, oh, what is that? What is that? What is? But at the end of the day, you don't have to look everything up. You just gotta get the main idea. But obviously, you are the perfectionist who try to get a 99%. I'm a 70 student. That's why it's called gang math, bro. If you're getting a 99, you can watch this for jokes. You're not gonna learn. You can go from 99 to 100 if you learn this. It works. So the first thing I'm talking about is, so I talked about that. Obviously badminton is just something to do with the shuttle, rackets, and you're on a court. So again, there are rules. So again, with mathematics, there are certain rules that you have to follow, and whenever you encounter a new subject, you're gonna meet rules, and these rules are gonna check how much time I got. I think maybe 9% on my phone, bro. I'ma hack this shit. So there are rules, right? You can't just 1 + 1 = 5. You can do some weird stuff that lets you do that, and I'm not gonna tell you what it is because it's not relevant, right? You can't. Let me tell you something from my experience. Okay, no matter how fast you write, you cannot copy. That's why a lot of people take pictures. That's what I do because I'm lazy. But you're not supposed to be doing that. You're supposed to be taking notes. And if you take notes, you can't take notes. So, plus you have to distinguish between a 70 student and a 90 student. The purpose of what you're doing is different. All right. So, when we talk about, this, that, first thing you want to know is, how do I study? Well, for me, what I like to suggest is to study like music. Music is a wonderful way of studying, right? Because it allows for both creativity and also hard work in a way that is functional. So how music is studied, we have notes. Also, we have scales. Scales mean the homework, the basic homework, like what your teacher gives you. Those are day-to-day stuff that you have to do, because that's like the scales, right? If you don't have it and you need to think about it on a test, you're gonna be too slow. But yeah, if you don't want to do scales, hopefully you know how to do them. There are people who they just do fun stuff and they cover everything, which is fine. I'm not gonna give you any limiting stuff. I'm not gonna limit you on how to study or how to think or how to do all of that. That's something for you to figure out. That's what I'm expressing, why I call this gang math, why I call this gangster math. Because it's not about how your friend studies or how your teacher tells you to study. It's about how do you study, what works for you. I give you an example of music, but obviously a lot of people study in different ways, but it's the same thing, right? If you're going to do basketball, you have to have your handles. If you're going to do cooking, you have to know how to chop up an onion. There's just certain things that you have to memorize and do. Even if you understand it, for instance, if I say the derivative of x squared, which is 2x, I can do that, right? Because I know the rules. I know this off practice. But if you never practiced it, how are you going to be like, oh, okay, derivative of x squared, you're going to do the formula thing, like x squared, x plus h squared minus x squared over h, limit as h goes to 0. You're going to do that? That doesn't make any sense, because you're not going to have time to do that on the test. You need to have muscle memory. Just because, obviously, if they don't have that on the test, you can just throw it out the window. If you're learning linear algebra or something, you don't know derivatives, you can just forget about it and then learn it again when you actually have derivatives. But again, it's dangerous because they have prerequisites and you need to know some stuff. So that's why, if you're gonna take a year off mathematics, right, when you come back, you're gonna need to remember. But Again, if you're not taking anything that requires it, there's no reason. Again, that's me giving you a type of thinking, right? How to strategize around the course. It's not about being really good at it by being a good student and whatever. A lot of people like be a good student. All the smart dudes, they don't be good students. They just clever. Some people they don't even study. See, I was a dumb student, but then I became a smart student and I'm still doing bad. But it's been easier. I can't lie, but because I'm off scoring. But um, yeah, you're gonna get a better. If you're smart, it's better. Right? You gotta train smart, not harder. Um, so let's talk about math. As you said, it's a bunch of rules and it's a bunch of stuff you can do. And then afterwards, what you need to know about is let me check how much battery I got. Whew, 8%. Okay. You got the next step you gotta know is what is math, right? And it's basically this special type of thinking, just like cooking and basketball. It's a special invention, right? That humans invented. And it's actually, whether it's invented by God or not, I don't really care. But basically, you're kind of discovering, okay, so I'm gonna be, oh, fuck, this video is bothering me because I keep blinking. It keeps blinking 2 seconds. So basically, it's whether it's God invented it and we just discovered it, or whether you discover it yourselves. Mathematics is you have a bunch of rules, and it's not like basketball rules. Basketball rules are just the same, and you can play any game. Um, but for yeah, it's kind of like badminton too, right? Badminton, there's rules. You have a certain set of rules in mathematics. The people who create the mathematics create the rules. So there's certain type of different things, and the rules are created by logic. And once you learn them, you create them by logic. You come up with formulas. The formulas give you a way of doing stuff, right? They become a rule because that is what the formula gives you. So when you talk about derivatives, it says d dx x squared equals 2x. That's not because they made that up. It's because they have some logic behind it. So basically, mathematics is basically a bunch of numbers and or symbols to kind of talk about a special type of thinking from logic with 3D thinking, okay, three-dimensional thinking, and even touching upon different fields of thinking that are not so obvious. And it's like this game. It's also a game. To me, it's a game. Otherwise, I wouldn't be interested in learning it. When I was learning it before, I think what I did really wrong was I was treating it like a studying subject. Luckily, I'm majoring in math and English right now. English is fun. Math is fun. I suggest if you're really low attention span person, are you willing to go up with the challenge? Learn mathematics. Mathematics can be really fun when you get the solution and stuff like that. When you learn something like philosophy and whatever, it's too much thinking. But it's just me. I picked the right stuff. If you like economics, economics is fun too. Um, so that's basically math. To reiterate, okay, math is a set of rules that come from logic and the things that you can do within those set of rules. It's a game to be played between logic from the creator and thinking you within those logic. And you're also trying to find the rules of the creator. These are all things you can do in your mind. It has to make sense. You have to have multiple people agree with you that it does make sense. If it doesn't make sense to them, you're not going to be able to publish that. Right? As far as I know, if you're the number one, you know what, you say this and it takes generations and then after you die 500 years later they prove it. Okay, but what I'm saying is to know you're not crazy, you have to have someone else tell you that's okay. And then so far, the whole field of mathematics is amazing. I barely scratched the surface as an undergraduate because I'm stupid. I'm still an undergraduate. But what I do know is that it's very wide. There's a lot of shit you can do. And I also know, fun fact, that it can be very fun. So I would love it if for you guys on the gangster math series, which I'm gonna post every week about, we have a fun time talking about mathematics. Because those two words are some shit that you don't usually hear together, but I can do it because I'm a gangster. You gotta treat everything like a gangster when you're studying. When you can cheat, you cheat. Not cheating for real, but like if there's a shorter step and you're sure of it, take the shorter step. I remember there was this manga called Assassination Classroom. And what happened was one of the main characters was like, fuck, how do I do this problem? It was so hard, so hard. There's this other guy, this nerd, right, in the first year class, in the like technically book smart class, who he tried to do it brute force. This guy in the assassination classroom, he did it very cleverly. He set up a beautiful solution that solved it in the time given because he just saw, oh yeah, this is this. And I did have one example of that in my own experience. And it saved me so much time. And I was like, oh yeah, fuck, this is just this. And I just wrote it down and I got an 80, bro. Do you know what an 80 is? An 80 is you're better than some people. You're not just average. So, alright, so that's that. So here we go. We're gonna start off with something simple, just to test the waters. Alright, let's start with something simple. Alright, so we're gonna. Yeah, I know what to start with. So we're gonna reiterate some key points after, right? So, let's just start off with something. Alright. A B. Alright, you see this? Alright, I think you can see it. It doesn't even recognize the A, B. Alright, so basically, these are not. It's not. This is what you want to see, right? This is what you want to. So basically, those are sets. Alright, what sets mean? You know how to spell it. If you don't know it, just don't ask me. SETS. See, I just lost. Just lost 5 intelligence points, saying that. I literally lost 5 intelligence points. My intelligence points went 5 lower. So basically, those are sets, and sets are very simple. You have some type of boundary. So the sets can be any shape because you can think of them any shape. It just all that matters really is it on the inside of the set? Is it on the boundary of the set, or is it outside the set? Okay. A lot of times people use circles for sets, and some people misunderstand because we're talking about gangster math. You're talking about understanding this shit. It's not about getting high mark in your class because obviously if you're watching this video, you're not trying to get a high mark. Because I'm not helping you get a high mark. I'm helping you in the long term doing better at school. Right? If you're already a 99 student, you don't need to write anything down. You don't need to. You just listen to what I say. I'm saying I'm like that guy from School of Rock. I'm like that guy, that fat guy from school. I'm not fat per se, although it's relative, and I don't know why I'm going on this tangent. But you gotta be funny to be a teacher, and if you're not funny and you're a teacher, you're not funny. And if you're not funny in life, no one wants to listen to you talk unless you're funny. But if you're not funny, just join a gang. You'll be funny after. Because you need to be funny when you're dealing them weed and shit. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be funny. You're gonna be that's because you're gonna be putting them tea leaves. Okay, I don't know that. I don't want no police to catch me. I'm just joking, man. I never did none of that shit in my life. I never even smoked no weed, man. I swear. So when we talk about sets mean, that's what it means. It means something is containing something. And the reason we talk about sets is to identify this idea of containment, right? Is to put that in your head. Because when we talk about sets, we talk about certain types of numbers, right? We're talking about natural numbers. That's a set. There's infinite sets, right, which are infinitely large, which means you can there's infinite sets which, they're infinitely large, right? You can't contain anything in a finite set because they're infinitely large, right? For instance, if I just talk about the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the way to infinity, well, you're not gonna contain that in a finite set. You can say that, oh, I'm gonna make them go in a spiral, and I'm gonna let them go in a circle over and over again in a set. Like if you're gonna talk about, for 1, 2, 3, 4, you're gonna make them, or you're gonna make them go in a circle. You're gonna make your numbers go in a circle over and over again. Well, that's not, because what are you gonna do if two numbers are on the same space? So again, now you're creating a 3D set, right? You're not talking about a 2D set, you're talking about a 3D set, because the 3D set is the one that's doing a number in a circle. Each time you're doing a circle, you have to go a little bit down, or you have 2 points on the same place, and they're at the exact same place, and they're at the exact same height. Or that's not 2 different points, that's 1 point, right? Does that make sense? So talk about natural numbers. To call natural numbers, and it's 1, 2, 3. Again, if you don't know what it is, I don't care. Just skip this part or listen to it and search it up or whatever you want. I expect you to be an adult, right? I don't want you to go here and then every single time he says something new, I'm like, oh shit, fuck, I don't know what that is. I slammed the thing again. I'm triggered. Don't be triggered by stuff like this, bro. You gotta know how to do this shit, right? If you're selling weed and so. I mean, that's what it is, right? So again, I understand just integers. Integers are, take the natural numbers, flip them, right? Flip them in a way that, so natural numbers, couple of dots, flip them, right? Put a couple of dots on a real number line. Real numbers. So real numbers is the biggest set. That doesn't include imaginary numbers, right? Imaginary numbers are not part of the real number line. When you draw a number line, okay, I'm not gonna draw it because it's just a line. If you draw a line, that is a real number. Okay, that's a set. That's a subset. Subset means you take a set, you take a part of it, and that's a subset. That is still a infinite set because there's an infinite number, and you can prove it. I don't know how to prove it. I'm not good at proofs. But if you just think through it logically, I can take any 2 numbers and I can find a number between, right? I can take any 2 numbers and I can find a number between, okay? Because let's say I have a, let me see how much time I got. 6%. Let's say I have a number and it has, and any number on a real number line has a decimal expansion. And by decimal expansion, what I mean is you have the number, you take how many decimals, and there's non-ending decimal expansions and ending decimal expansions. Non-ending decimal expansions, those are irrational numbers because they're not rational. Rational means of a fraction. Wait, what? Fraction? Yeah, I think that's rational number means you can express it as a number divided by another number. Okay? An irrational number cannot. Okay? Because when we talk about a rational number, it always terminates. Because once it terminates, you write that number over 10 to the whatever, right? You write 300, 2057 over 10 to the 5 or 6 or 7 or something. And that will give you the numbers that are rational, right? But when we talk about an irrational number, you have something like pi or e. Those are not terminating. Pi is 3.141 until someone proves that it terminates. Obviously, if you can prove that it terminates, you're going to be fine, but I'm pretty sure someone already proved that it's non-terminating. Because the thing is, you got to be smart again. Just this point, I'm going to tell you about a secret, which is if the professor says it, he probably has a proof. Okay, so when he talks about pi is irrational, and you're like, that hasn't been proven yet. Yeah, but he's not going to make a mistake when he's teaching a class. I'm doing gangster math here. If I was a math teacher, I wouldn't be teaching this way for the math class, because this is a supplementary shit. I'm not going to be teaching like this to a math class and be like, getting things wrong, because it's a job, you get paid. Even if I'm not, even my moral values, 90% of what I'm saying right now is legit, so I'm not making stuff up. Right, so pi is, so again, draw the number, and if you think, okay, let's say I have all irrational, so I union. Now let's talk about set union. Set union means everything in this, everything in that, take together everything in either of them. That's what union means. And union is denoted by, surprise, surprise, okay, surprise, surprise, it's AUB. Okay. Alright, so you see, and you have also, again, this is a part I haven't studied in a while, so don't take me for it, but obviously A intersection B, right, has to be what is in both, I think, because there's only several options, right? That's why, again, use, this is called proof by case. So let's see, what can it be? A, can it just be what's in A? No. Can it be what's just in B? No. Can it be what's in A and B? No, that's the same symbol. If I use the same symbol for union and the same symbol for intersection, it doesn't make sense. So it's not everything A, it's not everything B, it's not everything A and B. So I feel pretty safe that the only possibility, like proof by cases, is that it's in A and B intersection. Okay. And then we have something like, so basically, you have those in mathematics. In philosophy, they're noted differently. So you have something like A or B, right? It's not in sets. It has to be sets for you to talk about it in terms of what am I saying? Oh my god, bro, I took too many drugs. So when we talk about sets, it's A union B, A intersection B. And you can write just A backslash B, which is if the A backslash, I think it's called a back. A remove B, which is A take away everything in B. And there's obviously a way to, I'm not going to tell you about it, I hope you think about it. There's obviously a way to write something that's just in A or B and not both. In symbolic logic, that's called XOR, exclusive or, not in both. So that's basically, I don't know what the actual terminology is in terms of sets, but I know in symbolic logic it's X. Or for just the idea for you to think about. I don't really care about the symbols and whatever, because you can always switch that shit up and find yourself, right? I'm trying to make an active classroom where everything I say is making you think. And because you can rewatch this stuff, right? And you can think about it, right? Because it doesn't matter if you memorized it already. But that's not what I'm doing. There's so many ways. You can watch a ton of YouTube videos. They're like how to do this, how to do this, how to do this, how to do this. Or if I'm gonna be, you know, how to do this and whatever, you just will practice and you can figure it out. I'm pretty sure. I don't think math isn't hard. It's just taught badly and tested badly. That's the problem. It's tested by idiots. All my teachers are idiots, except this one guy. I'm pretty sure he gave me. I'm not gonna talk about that. I think he gave me a different test or something. I don't even know, man. I'm not a good figure in my school, man. Everybody hates me, but because I was bragging about my 60%. I think one time I was like posting that I was bragging. I was like, hell yeah, man, I got a 60 something. I didn't even have to work for it. Oh shit. I almost got kicked out of the class. So yeah, so that's it. That's about, we did sets, we did natural number, integers, which are the negative, and what negative means is, first of all, you include this thing called zero. Okay, zero is a really cool thing. Nothing. So all the positive integers, aka the natural numbers, they don't include zero, and they're not special. One isn't super special. It's the smallest integer, right? Smallest positive integer, but it's not so special. And the other end, there is no end, right? You can imagine just a set of dominoes, and once you flip one, it keeps going and going and going. Zoom, 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 and then just zoom out and say, "Fuck it, that's far enough. That's infinite. I'm not gonna keep zooming in and breaking my brain because you can't really think about infinity." So we're just gonna zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, just zoom out. Look at that. It's so far. It went over the horizon. Okay, that's good enough for me. So that's what we do. So we gotta always cheat. If you can't figure it out on test, cheat. Literally just try to write the fucking wrong answer and they're gonna mark it. Sometimes they give you this thing where, oh, if you get it wrong, you get 0 points. If you leave it blank, you get like 0.5, and you solve it, you get 1 point. In those cases, you gotta think. You gotta apply probability. You gotta be like, yo, bro, this is sick. I got this. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna. You can take your pencil, right? You can take a pencil, write 6 numbers on it, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you flip your pencil, boom. So if you get an even number, you put a random number, you guess. You get a odd number, you leave it blank. So if the math gods are smiling down on you, then yeah, you got the odd number. Yes, I'm gonna guess. Even number? No, I'm not. And before that, you have to pray to God, bro. Even better, you ask the professor for the rights to smudge. If you're an indigenous student, you say, "Fuck, bro, I need to smudge." He's not gonna let you, but yeah, I once asked my prof if I could bring abacus to the exam. He said no. So you do understand, like. Anyways, what I was even talking about? Yeah, so you have the zero. Zero is very interesting. Okay, zero is the middle, right? Everything, when there's zero, there's nothing. That's what it means for zero. Okay, some zeros are misused, right? Zeros means nothing. There is nothing. That's what it means, zero. Zero means you have an empty set. Zero means you have nothing. You draw it. The zero is the blank paper. Sometimes it's not used properly, alright? We have zero in thermometer. 0 Celsius isn't nothing. That's why they invented the Kelvin scale. The Kelvin scale starts at 0 as in absolute 0. The coldest you can get is 0 degrees Kelvin. That's a good one. Alright, same thing with marks. They put a 0 if you failed everything, you got everything wrong. That's the terminology of 0. So think about it in your own head what 0 means. Then you have the whole point of a negative is negative plus the same number without the negative sign. This is the idea with the symbol. Now what we're talking about is symbol. Okay, you have to understand the idea of symbols. It starts with things like negative. They're introducing you to the idea of symbols. There's many symbols in mathematics. Summation, product. Okay, later you learn things like derivative, antiderivative, right? Matrix, all these symbols. You start with, but we're gonna start small. We started out with the set. We're gonna start small. We're gonna start small with negative. So basically, what we know about the negative sign, you take a negative number, for instance, -2. Take a positive number, for instance, 2. Put them together, and they get 0. That's what negative means. It's a definition of negatives. If I draw 2 negative dots, right? -2 is a black dot, 2 positive, white dot, boom, 0. And this actually exists in physics. I'm not sure what the particles are. I think it's matter and antimatter. When matter and antimatter come together, they destroy it, they annihilate, so it becomes nothing. If I remember properly. So basically, it's found there, right? So if you want to go with that understanding, again, there's many ways to understand different concepts in mathematics, just as long as you understand them. It doesn't mean this is better, that's better. Just whatever makes sense to you, because I don't care what other people say. You are not stupid. There's no such thing as stupid people in my mind. I'm stupid. I say that not because I believe that I'm stupid. I believe that I'm not the smartest guy around. But I'm stupid because I don't feel very smart. Some people out there, they're like, I'm a genius, and they're stupid as fuck because of why they say that. If you really know, you can call yourself stupid, but to call yourself smart, it doesn't really, what does smart mean? Smart means I'm better in relation to other people. What does that even mean? Right? You could be really good at music, you could be really good at soccer, and it's relative, right? So even the ELO rating, so we can talk about the ELO rating. ELO rating, you're not gonna get a 0, right? Because it's called a bell curve, right? So now we're learning all of a sudden about bell curves. Bell curve is something. So if it goes to, so we learn about the integers, the rational numbers are the same except negative of a fraction. Irrational, right? You have negative also. You have pi. You have negative pi. It's the same thing, right? They annihilate. They annihilate each other. Okay? So we started talking about bell curves. So I guess we'll go over bell curves. So bell curve. The thing that I figured out is the funny thing about a bell curve. So I'm gonna draw a bell curve right here. Just a bell curve, okay? Looks like a freaking guy's pants when it's erect, but that's a bell curve. Basically, what a bell curve is they tested it and they think that that's the shape of marks. So they kind of numbered it in terms of zeros. So If we're talking about dick size, there's extremely big, extremely small, somewhere in the middle. Most people lie in the middle. I discovered, if you think about it, if you put all the bell curves together, like of every single skill everybody has, it's a flat line. Right? All the people who are bad at this are better at that. Bad at it. That's what I believe. So when you talk about bell curves of a specific skill, and a lot of professors, they apply the bell curve. Sometimes when the mark is too low, they identify it as a part of a bell curve, and then they lift it up. For instance, instead of adding, some people just add 5, or you're gonna lift the whole bell curve up. But sometimes what they do is they're gonna stretch. So here's what I'm gonna show you. It makes sense, right? Because if so they're gonna like, because they could just add 5 and raise the whole bell curve. But sometimes they actually stretch it. You see that? So it becomes even more harder. That's what I think. That's what. So we're not gonna talk about what the professors do. We're gonna talk about what makes sense. So now we're gonna start with our first problem. That I want to work together as a class. I would talk about how would you. Let's say you're a university professor, okay, and you just gave a test, and you're stupid enough that the average is 20. Now in university they have like they have a, how would you say? Well, in university they have a limit for they have a limit for how low your average can be. So we're gonna think through this problem together. So how could you raise the average? So you could take. I don't know how this is yet. There's numbers in this, right? But even if we don't solve this problem this time, I'm just trying to show you like what math is about. Not the mathematics of doing well in the course, because that's not how math is, right? Or if you talk about the real mathematicians, everything starts with a problem, right? You have a problem, and that is what causes the following steps. So we talk about this. How does it work, right? So you could lift the whole curve up, right? You could lift the whole curve up. You just take all the dots and you. Well, the thing is, if I just add 5%, I don't think that's gonna lift the curve up, right? I have to place them on a bell curve and lift the entire bell curve up. I can use, you know, I'm pretty sure I could do that with. I think I can do that with a ruler, can't I? Can I do that with a ruler? Like if I just draw it on. Hang on a second. Can I do that with a ruler? Like if I don't have a computer, and obviously if you have a computer, there's probably some computer science program that you can do. But what I'm thinking is, I can write it on like a see-through piece of paper, and then I can lift it up and see where everything is. Divided by, if I put proper axes on it. Can I do that? So this really fits into gangster math, but I don't know if I can actually do that though. I have to go check. Which is very funny. I don't know. Maybe I actually can, but Can I do that? Can I just put it on a piece of C2 paper and just lift it? I don't know, man. But yeah, basically you can lift the whole thing up. You can stretch it. You stretch it. You have to find a specific level to stretch it at, right? Because if you think about it, if I stretch it here versus I stretch it there, it's different because the way that the belt curves, it's gonna stretch in a different way if I stretch it higher or lower. And I think there's probably some type of math that tells you how far up you want to stretch. If you want to stretch, depending on what kind of average mark you want, you have a computer program for that. Alright, so thank you very much. This is the first video of a set of videos called Gangster Math. Ciao.